One of the biggest mistakes that you can make as a freelance web designer is trying to run a full strategy session before the client even signs a contract. This is the equivalent of going on a first date and talking about how many kids you want to have. It's just going to scare the prospect off. So instead, the point of your very first call, or what I call a strategy call, is to get just enough information to put together an accurate proposal and pricing quote. Then your discovery session is going to come later on after the client has signed a contract and paid a deposit invoice. Then you can really dive into the nitty-gritty of what exactly needs to be done during this project. So when you finally get to the point where you're ready to run a discovery session, you want to make sure that you have all the right people there. So of course yourself and everyone on your team, but you want to make sure that on the client side, you have all of the decision makers and anyone that's going to play a role in this process. It's going to be a nightmare if some people miss this discovery session because you're going to spend the rest of the project trying to catch them up on the goals and the tasks and responsibilities of this website project. So to kick this thing off, you want to make sure that you introduce everyone and let everyone know their roles. And then what you're going to want to do is outline the agenda for this discovery session. You want to make sure that everyone knows exactly what's going to be talked about so you have a really clear purpose. Otherwise, this call is going to go way too long and it's going to get way off track and go way off the rails. So establish this at the very start. And to make this easy, I have a free resource that you can click the description down below to download a free agenda outline that's going to show you exactly what I talk about in our discovery sessions. Now you want to make sure that you schedule this discovery session as quickly as possible after the initial deposit is paid, because this is going to be the peak of your client's anxiety and they're going to be holding their breath wondering if you're going to take their money and disappear. So schedule this discovery session as quickly as possible within 1 to 2 days to make sure that you can put them at ease and really kick this thing off on the right foot. Now, the last thing I'll say before we dive into the actual agenda outline is your biggest responsibility is to lead this call with confidence, because you have to remember your client has never done this. And so you can't leave it open to them. They don't know what to talk about. They don't know what questions to ask. And it's going to be really frustrating for them if you're not leading them in the direction they need to go. So make sure that you are doing this with confidence and instilling confidence in your clients. All right, so the first thing that you're going to talk about in this strategy call are the goals and expectations of this project. So you want to establish what is the main goal of this project, what is your client hoping to get out of this project, and then also setting expectations for both parties, especially when it comes to communication. How are you going to communicate? When are they going to hear from us? Expectations on payment, and a lot of these different things that we're going to talk about later in this video. But make sure that you're setting expectations early so everyone has a clear focus for this project. The next thing that you need to discuss is timeline and benchmarks. Now, you should already have a launch date established in the contract, but now you want to make sure that you're setting individual benchmarks for every step of the process. This is going to help keep everyone on track. So make sure you establish a benchmark date for when the designs are going to be done, when your revision processes are going to take place, when you're going to move to development. Everything should be outlined to make sure you keep everyone on track. Next, you want to outline a sitemap. Now, this is something that should almost be completed already, because this is really necessary for you to understand in order to accurately price the project. But now you want to make sure that you have this really nailed down. You need to know exactly what pages need to be built, and then this is going to give your client the knowledge that they need to start building content for each of these pages. Next, you need to talk about the responsibilities of both parties. So you need to make sure you establish that your client is going to be responsible for creating content, providing images, branding assets, giving feedback and revisions. You need to talk about communication some more and payments. All of this should be established to make sure that there are no questions and to make sure that everybody fulfills on their word and on the contract that they signed. Next, and probably most important in terms of getting good direction for your design work, is you need to gather design inspiration. You need to make sure that your client can find at least a handful of websites that they like in terms of design and outline and structure and flow. And this is going to give you a good idea of what they like and what they want this website to look like when it's finished. If your client doesn't already have some good inspiration, what you want to do is you want to direct them to some good resources so they can start looking through websites and providing you with links of what they like and why. Next, you want to talk about potential roadblocks. roadblocks. Now, unfortunately, it's pretty rare that you have a web design project that's just totally straightforward, right? Oftentimes they're going to have integrations that they need. They might be migrating from another platform. They might need SEO. Your client might have other departments that are involved in this project, and you want to make sure that you coordinate things so you're not stepping on any toes. You also want to make sure that they already have access to the DNS settings for their domain. The last thing you want is to get to the day before launch date and realize that they can't find their domain name. So these are all things that are potential roadblocks, and you might find more, but make sure that you discuss these things right now in this discovery session to make sure that nothing is left unsaid. And then finally, you want to talk about next steps. Now, this is really important, and oftentimes something that gets forgotten is we have a killer discovery call, but then we end the call and the client thinks, well, that was awesome, but what comes next? And so you want to wrap up this call by telling them, here's exactly what you need to do over the next week. Here's what we're going to be doing over the next week. And then here's when you're going to hear from us next. Make sure that they're not left questioning what needs to be done. This is going to give everybody a purpose. It's going to keep everybody on task. And again, it's going to kick off this project on the right foot. Now, it's important to remember that within this discovery session, the questions you ask are going to be critical to make sure that you can get the information that you need. So at the bottom of the template that I'm providing, again, you can download it down in the description, but at the bottom of that template, I've provided a bulleted list of great questions that you can ask to move this call along and to make sure that you can get the information you need to do a great job on this project and knock it out of the park for your clients. So again, download that free template down below. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.